Warning: the following context may include scary sequences of light horror and many thrills. Some gruesome descriptions involving children may be present in some chapters. Some material may be unsettling to certain audiences. But don't worry, everything will be okay. Probably. Chapter 22: The Circus. Martha's Perspective. Kiri and I traveled as fast as we could to our next destination. They sent the two of us to some of the trickiest places since Kiri is, well, a werewolf. The images of our worlds colliding keep racing through my mind, but I try to stay focused. "We got this, Martha. Just 2 more miles," Kiri tells me. "I really wish you could turn into a wolf whenever you wanted. That way you could just carry me right now." I sigh and he laughs. "Me too. That'd be awesome." The sun is setting and we're still a ways away. The birds seem to be nestling down in the trees that are scattered throughout the field, while the bats take to the sky. I used to love reading about places like this, but now that I'm living it, I'm realizing how terrifying it really is. "I'm so tired," I say, and I really am. My feet feel as though I'm walking on nails. My head is pounding, and my stomach has been rumbling for several hours now. "Look," Kiri says, having never lost his perkiness. "Huh?" I mumble, hardly lifting my head. Coming down the trail is another group, not humans, but some sort of fairy creatures. "Hello," Kiri waves, and they wave back. "Do you know them?" I ask him. "I know of them. Supposedly they grant wishes." He smiles. "Maybe they could give us some food or water." I'm hesitant to accept anything from strange creatures on the road, but if they have a good reputation in this land, I suppose they could be good. "Well, hello," one says, a boy with sparkles as freckles and giant leaves for wings. "What are you kids doing out here? Not often we see travelers." "We're on a mission, top secret business, but we're parched," Kiri says, bringing all the dramatics. "Do you happen to know where we could find any clean water or something to eat?" The two fairies look at each other, rolling their eyes and smiling. "If you want a wish, just say so," the girl one says. She has blue hair with dewdrops that perfectly levitate behind her, creating the shape of elegant wings. "Is that how this works?" Kiri says, now a little embarrassed. "Pretty much," the boy shrugs. "Is there a cost?" I speak up. I'm already one unknown cost in debt, and I'm not trying to go bankrupt. "Not unless you want to make a donation," the boy fairy laughs. "So you really just give out free wishes?" I ask them, still not quite believing it. "So long as it's a need, it's free," the girl fairy says. "If it's simply a desire, then there might be a cost." "Okay," Kiri nods. "Do food and water count as a need?" The two fairies chuckle, then click their fingers. Appearing on the ground is a tall pitcher of ice water, a bowl of fresh fruit, and a fresh loaf of bread that looks like it's covered in cinnamon and sugar. "Oh my goodness," I say, falling to my knees, pouring the water into a smaller glass sitting next to the pitcher. The more I drink, the more I realize just how thirsty I really was. Kiri grabs an apple and begins chomping. Before I have time to thank them, the fairies fly off into the air. I wish I could fly. That way I could see out of these cornstalks. Kiri and I eat for a few more minutes, then pack up what we had left. After another mile or so, we hear the cheerful music of the circus just over the hill. I watch as Kiri's hair stands up on his arms and his face perks up, very dog-like. It's odd how human he is, and then suddenly his expressions will change, reminding me that he's also part wolf. The black in his eyes grow wider, nearly taking over the white. I feel a chill run down my spine as I notice the moon has begun to rise. I never did ask him if he is the type of werewolf that can control himself once he's changed. Kiri?" I ask, hardly lifting my voice. "Yeah?" He looks at me, his eyes now completely black. I take a slow step back. "Do you go away when you change? Like, do you become fully wolf?" The words struggle to leave my mouth. His face softens. No, sorry, just my physical shape changes, he tells me, raising his hands to show he means no harm. I can become more animal-like when needed, but that hardly happens. I sigh in relief because I wasn't planning on being eaten by my friend. The circus noise continues to play as the red and white circular tent flashes lights. The tent sits in the center of a valley, and I can see the continuation of the trail on the other side, behind the circus. Great, so I have no choice but to go through the circus. Kiri stands next to me. I notice he seems to be a lot taller, like 5 inches taller. Looking up at him requires a lot more neck work than I'd prefer. He takes a step forward and looks down at me, offering a hand for me to hold, which now has 2-inch nails rather than fingernails. We can do this, but please stay close, he tells me, and I can tell by the depth in his eyes that even as a werewolf, he's scared. Do not leave my side, he tells me, emphasizing each word. I'm at a loss for words, not looking forward to whatever might be awaiting in that circus. All I can do is nod and take his hand. We're looking for 3 game coins, but I'm not sure if they'll all be in the same spot. Okay, I mumble, shivering both from fear and from the cold of the night setting in. The moon is nearly full, but Kiri has remained a strange mix between a wolf and a human. I think back to a few days ago. I never would have imagined that I'd have a werewolf friend. Last week me would literally die from excitement. Standing directly outside the door of the giant tent, my heart pounds uncontrollably. The lights from inside flash on and off, lighting up the entire outside. The closer I am to the music, the more I realize how eerie and disturbing it truly is. I try to recall all the books and movies, stories and shows I've watched and read about situations like this. But what did the people do? And what were the outcomes? The only thing I can come up with was that the people should have never entered, so that doesn't help me now. There's more than one, Kiri tells me, swallowing hard. They hunt like pack animals. They're strategic. My body begins to shiver and I can feel the blood drain from my face. In unison, Kiri and I take a deep breath. He takes a step forward and places a hand in front of me. Opening the door, we enter. White and blue strobe lights blink endlessly, causing my vision to be seen in snapshots. I tilt my head upward, seeing that Kiri is still next to me. There is an arena in the center of the circus, filled with sand and silver loops, similar to ones that they make lions jump through. Surrounding the arena are bleachers, with a ball pit in the back left corner, a tight rope up above, and an arcade in the right corner. Where are they? I whisper. Not sure. Let's just look for the coins, Kiri says in a hushed voice. I point to the arcade and he nods in agreement. With the tippiest of tiptoes, I take as silent of steps as possible. My head begins to spin as a result of the flashing lights. A clank, like the sound of a metal pipe, tumbles through the air, coming from the left corner behind us. Wait, Kiri says, holding his hand out in front of me to stop. I pause, feeling my entire body go numb. Scary clowns aren't exactly my favorite thing. With one slow motion, Kiri points to our left. Across the room is a clumsy figure, dressed in red and white stripes and a lime green wig. He carries a metal pipe about 2 feet long. My heart pounds uncontrollably. Kiri moves his finger to his mouth, telling me to stay quiet. He then takes my hand and walks me past the clown into the arcade. The music continues to play, becoming an uncomfortable background noise. The arcade has about 10 or so old games, similar to an arcade in our world. Look for coins, he tells me, leaning down so I can hear him. Do not wander past this place. His voice has become rough and deep, and his teeth have sharpened. I gulp, still a little bit scared that when he turns, he'll be fully animal, and with that, I might become his first meal. I brush off the thought and begin searching. This feels absolutely impossible. How am I supposed to just happen upon, oh look, a coin? Sitting on the ground next to one of the games is a sparkling gold coin, a clown face covered on one side and a half moon on the other. Looking up to find Kiri, I see a large shadow casted on the game coming from behind me. My hands begin to shake as I freeze. I know that shadow cannot be Kiri. It's too wide and round with a fluffy head. With one swift move, I shove the coin in my dress pocket and make a run for it. Watching the objects as I run past them, I can see the shadow follow me with each flash of the light. Kiri! I scream, jumping over some tangled ropes, diving behind a game. Staying as silent and still as possible, I wait. The shadow is gone, and the sound of footsteps ceases. I hold my breath, hoping and praying that silence means the clown has lost me. Martha, I hear Kiri call out in a very hushed voice. Here, I whisper back. I jump as a figure runs around the corner, reaching its hand out at me, closer and closer with each flash of the lights. It's me, quiet, Kiri says, grabbing my shoulders. I found a coin. I found one too, I tell him, taking a deep breath. This was certainly not my favorite location in the maze. One more, he says, looking to his right, then to his left. Did you see where the clown went? It was chasing me. Kiri shakes his head. That doesn't comfort me. I've got a hunch that it's in the arena, he tells me, gritting his teeth together, because that would require us to be out in the open. I look over my shoulder into the arena, and sure enough, in the center of the circle is a sparkling light sitting on a pole. It has to be that, I whisper, pointing to the pole. Kiri looks, then nods. He looks around the tent. I'm not sure what for, then back at me. How good are you at climbing? I stumble over my thoughts. Fine, I guess. Why? His gaze shifts to the tightrope above the arena. No, why would that help? I say, shaking my head. I don't want to nearly fall to my death a third time. The moon, he tells me. Take this. He hands me a sharp metal rod that he found. Tear open the tent and I'll shift. I'll have a better chance of making it. My eyes widen with fear. It's our best bet, he says. I'll give you a boost. Okay then, I mumble. We run and duck behind objects as we cross around the giant tent. All we have to do is cross under the bleachers, but they're the darkest part. It's nearly impossible to see, even with the lights. Kiri and I take it one step at a time, breathing in and out as calmly as we can. We're nearly halfway through when a creaking sound comes from above. A malicious, evil laugh rings in our ears. I freeze, tilting my head upward. Standing directly above us is a terrifying clown dressed in black and purple, another metal rod in hand. Looking to Kiri, I gesture for his input. With one hand he holds mine, and with the other he reaches out for us to stay still. The clown eventually walks down the bleachers and into a different section of the circus. We scurry as fast as is possible to the end of the bleachers. With a strong shove, Kiri lifts me to where the ladder starts and I begin to climb. Placing the pole in my backpack pocket, I climb higher and higher into the air. Checking over my shoulder, I see Kiri is still at the bottom of the ladder, looking at me and also looking out for himself. Finally reaching the top, my hands shake as I realize I must be at least 3 stories up. Something that didn't occur to me before agreeing to this was the fact that I can't walk on a tightrope. I take one more step, placing my feet on the circular stand at the top of the ladder. There are 2 poles on either side of me, so I grab onto one of those for support. My legs shiver and my heart races. Carefully reaching behind me, I pull the pole out of my pocket. I glance down at Kiri to see he is ready. He gives me a thumbs up. I take a deep breath and begin slashing at the fabric of the tent. The material is much thicker than I had anticipated, so I put more strength into my swing. I hear the shuffle of footsteps and evil chuckles closing in. I begin cutting as fast as I can, still gripping tightly to the pole next to me. I can see that Kiri is anxiously awaiting the moonlight to be able to transform as the clowns get closer. In between strobe lights, I see nearly 5 wicked clowns stumbling towards Kiri's location. I can feel the sweat build above my brows. When will this thing tear? Finally, with one last swing of the sharp rod, a big hole in the ceiling tears open. The light of the full moon fills the tent. Kiri runs into the light, landing on all 4 in the arena. His body shifts and turns as a thick coat of dark fur and sharp claws take over his body. His figure changes into that of a giant wolf, nearly 7 feet tall, standing up. He howls sharply and lunges at the first clown that attacks him. "Kiri!" I yell as I watch him and the clown roll in the sand. I realize that was not a good idea when another clown looks up and makes eye contact with me. Oh no. The clown begins running to the ladder. I look to my right, to my left, up and down. My only options are walking the rope or fighting. I glance down to see if Kiri is okay, and if he is at all able to help me. He is currently pinning down one clown, but two others jump on his back, dragging him to the ground. I watch helplessly as they begin to beat him with their rods. I cry and scream, yelling for them to stop. "Hello, little girl," a hideous voice giggles. Looking down, a huge clown with a wooden bat has nearly reached the top of the ladder. I'm pretty sure me with a little rod isn't going to do much against him, and Kiri needs my help, whatever help I might be able to give. As I look around the circus, my grip shudders as the pole I'm holding onto sways. I realize the bolts holding it in place are very loose. In fact, the ones to the other pole are too. The poles appear to be supporting a good portion of the tent. If I can knock them down, the whole tent would collapse, giving us time to escape, theoretically. "There you are," the clown laughs, launching its hands at me. In an attempt to avoid the horrific clown catching me, I step back, which happens to be off the stand. I swing as hard as I can at the pole as I slip backwards, then grabbing the rope as I fall. I can see the poles sway back and forth, shifting the whole tent. Then, with a pop of the bolts, the supports fall to their sides. Cutting the rope with a swing of the sharp rod, I hold on as it eases my fall. The entire circus crumbles piece by piece, the poles and fabric folding in on itself. Landing in the arena, I run to the stand, grabbing the third coin and whacking the first clown I see in the head. "Kiri, let's go!" I scream. He shakes off the last clown as the others ran away to escape the collapsing circus. With a swift reach, Kiri lifts me onto his back and begins to run. Gripping his fur as tightly as possible, I duck my head and close my eyes. This is the part he can do. Dodging falling debris, he runs off into the cornfield with me on his back, howling into the night. Chapter 23. A Rich Man's Flaw. Dixie's Perspective. Tune in tomorrow.